The Netflix Witcher show has been criticized again and again for a number of things. For changing storylines, for changing characters and events, dismissing entire arcs or making new ones up that are contradictory to the source material, and most importantly the source material's themes and nature. Nonetheless, I did enjoy the first season, despite its deviations, until I witnessed something towards the very end of the season that really rubbed me the wrong way. Something I felt was inexcusable, and was so different to the books and to the essence of The Witcher that I was left, simply put, disappointed. Before I dive into it, it should be said that liking the show is no sin, nor is disliking it. Though I generally enjoyed the first season, I stopped watching the show after that fateful Kaer Morhen episode in the beginning of season 2. Some people liked it, and there's nothing wrong about that, I'm just not one of those people. With that said, in this video, we'll explore a part of the books that Netflix, I believe, changed for the worse. One of the most important and foundational aspects of our beloved characters. How Netflix bastardized The Witcher's last wish. Allow me to provide a little context. The very first book, chronologically, of the series is a collection of short stories titled The Last Wish, named after the very last short story of the book. In the show, that story, The Last Wish, is portrayed in episode 5 of season 1, titled Bottled Appetites. It is in this story that Geralt, our protagonist, meets the woman that would eventually become the love of his life, Yennefer of Vengerberg. Naturally, in the adaptation of the story, it would be necessary for the show to make some small adjustments in order for the story to work on screen. This video is not about those trivial differences, and therefore I will simply explain the story of the books, until finally comparing the two mediums when it truly matters, towards the end, and in Geralt's last wish. The story starts with our beloved companions, Geralt and his partner in crime Jaskier, who I will call Dandelion from now on, trying to catch a fish for breakfast. Unbeknownst to them, instead of breakfast, they manage to fish out of the river a mysterious-looking vase. Despite Geralt's warnings, Dandelion tries to open it, while the Witcher attempts to stop him, and it is during this struggle that the vase falls and breaks. The Djinn, or genie, previously trapped inside, is freed, and the Witcher, understanding the severity of the situation, leaps away to save himself. Dandelion, being who he is, believes that the Djinn will obey his commands, as it is he who freed him, and wishes his musical rival to die of apoplexy. The Djinn proceeds to then strangle the bard to near death. The Witcher manages to save his friend with some ancient incantation and brings him to the town of Rind for help. He is informed that residing in the city is a sorceress called Yennefer of Vengerberg, who could help Dandelion in his delicate state, and the Witcher enters the city with the purpose of finding her. When Geralt finally meets the sorceress, he is mesmerized by her beauty. He is stunned. He is stunned while also having at the back of his head that he was interacting with a sorceress, and in all likelihood, this was not her natural appearance, though what she had actually looked like before escapes him for the time being. He does not care anyway. Yennefer eventually heals Dandelion, and then she and the Witcher discuss the price of her services, with Yen demanding immediate payment and paralyzing Geralt. Next thing Geralt remembers is waking up in his cell. The Witcher soon finds out that the sorceress had placed a spell on him to go around the town and punish anyone who had ever come into conflict with Yennefer, who was quite unpopular. Soon thereafter, some of the town's guards enter the prison and start beating the Witcher, and Geralt, as a result, curses one of them and wishes he burst. The guard then literally burst. Once this happened, Geralt and the rest come to the realization that it was the Witcher after all that was owed the Djinn's obedience, which is why it had tried to kill Dandelion earlier. Dandelion is then sent by Yennefer to the Witcher, who had been summoned by the town's mayor, and tells Geralt to wish his last wish. The last wish because he used his first wish without knowing it to make the Djinn go away when it attacked Dandelion, and his second wish of course was to make the guard burst. Thus we are left with the last wish, the most important of all. Yennefer, we find out, wants Geralt to wish the last wish, any wish, in order for the Djinn to be released from its captivity so that she can capture it and harness its powers, and perhaps find a way to cure the infertility forced upon her body for being a sorceress. Geralt, however, knows how strong genies are, and he rushes to save the town and Yennefer from getting herself killed. In the events that ensued, the important thing to remember is that Yennefer urges Geralt to have anything he has ever wanted, to wish of something, of anything, of everything, and he does precisely that. The wish, Geralt, hurry up! What do you desire? Immortality? Riches? Fame? Power? Might? Privileges? Hurry, we haven't any time! He was silent. Humanity, she said suddenly, smiling nastily. I've guessed, haven't I? That's what you want. That's what you dream of. The Witcher remained silent still. He merely stared at her, at her beauty and radiance. He smelled that magical scent of hers, lilac and gooseberries, and in the midst of all this, something finally clicked. He finally realized what she had looked like before she changed her appearance with magic. Yennefer was a hunchback. Immediately, he shuts that thought out in fear of her reading his mind, and he has a realization. He was in love, he cared about her. He did not want her to feel bad about him knowing what she looked like, because he knew he didn't care, she did. As the djinn was about to kill her, Geralt forsakes everything he has ever wanted, everything, and he makes his wish, because he realized he wanted something more. He wanted her to live. What the wish actually was, it is unknown to us, and the exact words the Witcher uttered are known only to him and to Yennefer. You see, she heard, in that moment, Geralt utter the very words that saved her life. "Wait," she whispered, "that wish of yours. I heard what you wished for. I was astounded, simply astounded. I'd have expected anything but to... What made you do it, Geralt? Why? Why me?" "Don't you know?" She leaned over him, touched him. He felt her hair, smelling of lilac and gooseberries, brush his face, and he suddenly knew that he'd never forget that scent, that soft touch. Knew that he'd never be able to compare it to any other scent or touch. Yennefer kissed him, and he understood that he'd never desire any lips other than hers. He knew that, from that moment, only she would exist. He gazed into her violet eyes, the most beautiful eyes in the world, eyes which he feared would become everything. He knew. "Your wish," she whispered, her lips very near to his ear. "I don't know whether such a wish can ever be fulfilled. I don't know whether there's such a force in nature that could fulfill such a wish. But if there is, then you've condemned yourself to me." He interrupted her with a kiss, an embrace, a touch, caresses, and then with everything, his whole being, his every thought, his only thought, everything, everything, everything. The text itself is beautiful, and it is perhaps one of my favorite passages from the series. I hope you can understand from this how important Geralt's last wish and Yennefer's reaction to it was for these two characters and the Witcher as a whole. This is how this epic love began. Despite all of their flaws and their differences, and the long time they would be separated throughout the books, if you read the very last novel, the very end of the story, you will understand why Geralt's last wish is so important. They sacrificed for each other, they were flawed and they made mistakes throughout the years, but at the end of the day they were always there for each other, just like they would always be there for young Ciri when they effectively become her parents. There is love in these pages, and you will soon see how Netflix changed the essence of the wish. In the books we can surmise that Geralt's wish was a binding of fate, whose purpose was to save her life, and based in love and sacrifice. In the Netflix show, for starters, Yennefer does not hear Geralt's last wish. The interaction I read earlier never happens. What happens instead is just a sexual encounter. And that is how episode 5, the episode telling the story of the last wish, ends. Yennefer asks Geralt what his wish was. Geralt does not say. It's as if it is kept secret. Moreover, Yennefer as a whole, especially in episode 6, seems considerably more bitter about Geralt helping her with the djinn, believing she would have been fine without him. Book Yennefer not only does not do that, but also openly states that she does not care about the djinn escaping, much preferring being alive, which she recognizes was thanks to Geralt and his wish, which she heard and was appreciative of. The absolute worst, however, comes in the closing minutes of episode 6 titled Rare Species, which recounts the short story Bounds of Reason, the first part of the Sword of Destiny, which is the book following the last wish. I will simply let the encounter speak for itself. "I can see why Geralt didn't want to lose you." What does that mean? In Rind, the djinn. "That's why we can't escape each other, why I feel this way inside." No, it's not because of anything real or true. You made a wish. It's magic. It's real, Yen. How could we ever know? This regard for others' freedom has become quite your trademark. I made that wish to save your life. I didn't need your help. Like F you didn't. And you flirt about like a tornado, wreaking havoc, and for what? So you can have a baby? A child is no way to boost your fragile ego, Yen. Compare this scene with the scene from the books. Not only did they change when Yennefer learned of the wish, years later as opposed to as it was happening, not only did they change how she felt about Geralt helping her, or her being appreciative of the sacrifice she feels he made with that wish, but they also make Geralt vindictive and hurtful about something Yennefer, his everything, felt very insecure about. She always wanted to be a mother. He knew this, and yet here we are. In the books, Geralt's wish was presumably the binding of their fates, yes, but what makes all the difference is what that actually means. What it means, of course, is for them to die together. That is what a common fate and destiny is within The Witcher. That is the wish, the binding of their deaths. This is why Yennefer is so astounded, because Geralt intertwined their deaths. That is how she was saved. It was the only way she could have been saved. The Jinn wanted to kill Yennefer regardless of the cost or destruction. The Jinn, however, is also not allowed to kill its master. Therefore, by binding Geralt's destiny, which is a synonym for death, with Yennefer's, the Jinn would be unable to kill the sorceress. This is why Yennefer appreciates what he did so immensely. In the show, however, Geralt's wish is not this. According to Bourges, Geralt wished not to lose Yennefer. This is what Netflix understood as the binding of fates. I do not know why they made this change. What I do know is that it is quite different from the characters that we know and love so deeply and for so many years. Their passion and their love for each other. And it is based on this short story that the events of the last book in the city of Rivia transpire. Everything is connected to it, and yet it must not have been deemed important. Thank you very much for watching.